But your subscription for Citizenserve does include all of these features. It's all included in the subscription price. And one of the key features of that is the portal that we make available to your citizens. So we're going to jump out to the portal, and I am going to do my best today to remind you that when we're on the portal, we're going to do some role playing. So I'm going to say things like put on your contractor's hard hat. You don't really have to have one. You can just imagine it, or imagine somehow being and acting as a citizen or a contractor when you're on the portal side. So this is our online portal. It is configurable to your needs. We list all of our services here. And this is a test environment, a demo environment. This is where I do lots of stuff. But we are going to jump out to other live sites, well, copies of live sites, so that you can see how other customers implement our system. And this is a really key takeaway. So I hope that everyone is listening right now when I say that Citizenserve is a configurable site. So I'm going to show you some applications today that aren't going to look exactly like your application, but I don't want you to feel like, oh man, they can't do it. The key takeaway is, wait a second, I can see how they're using these custom fields. I can see how they can build that for us. And because we're not customizing software to you, we are configuring software. Our turnaround is very quick. We're not building you new tools. We are configuring your tools and applications, and we will be able to configure your site for you. So the portal, again, is configurable. We're here. We offer all of our services on this home page. So we have all licensing here. We offer permitting in the center. Development projects are on the bottom left. And then there's another column over here where you can submit a complaint or submit a request. So if you don't want to offer all of these features through Citizenserve, that's fine. We just customize this page. This is just HTML. So we would hide the services that you don't want to offer. When you have this information online and it's available to your constituents, we want to provide to them the most information possible. So I'm going to take you to the services pages of just a permit to show you that we have a lot of detailed pages underneath our homepage that will help present information to your customers. So on services, we're looking at the permit section. We have to build the ability to apply online or view our permits, go to more information, search. But in the center of the page, we have a breadcrumb trail. And these pages correspond up here as well, because it's always nice to have more than one way to get somewhere. But I'm just going to show you this first page. Do you need a permit? This is a place where we would list your permit projects and your processes, right? Which don't need a permit, which do need a permit. We want to present this information to your constituents to answer their questions, to help save you some of those repeat, short interruptions to your day. If we can present the information here, then they won't maybe need to email you or contact you to answer that quick question. Now, as we gather your information in the portal, those files are going to be created electronically, and your constituents can search for them. So we have a search button at the top of the screen, and we're going to just select the file type that we're looking for. Do you notice we've got additional fields here so you can filter out and search, get granular in what you're searching for. But if you just click submit, then you're going to get a listing of all the permits here. Now, if you want to present different information or less information that's presented here, we'll just simply write a report for you. Now, report writing is included in your subscription. So we're here on the portal. We're acting as a contractor. We're not logged in. We can present information to your constituents. I'm going to just run this code complaints report. And if you notice, there was a map pin on it. That means this is going to put output in a map format. So I'm going to run this report from the beginning of last year. And if I click in here, I'll be able to select today's date. So I'm going to run it for about a year and a half. That's going to get me enough data in my test environment to show you all these map pins. Now, hopefully what you're looking at is familiar to you. We use Google Maps as our backend, and that means because we're browser-based, we want to use all of the features of Google Maps. So when I click to satellite view, it's going to change your view. I can click and I can drag and I can zoom into that Spindrift neighborhood here. And I didn't center it very well. Let's do that again. So with Citizenserve, when you see a map pin, in fact, I hope that you can see up in the top right corner, there's a legend. So these categories correspond to this map. And when I click on a pin, I get additional information. We're able to provide additional information when you click on a map pin. And so this is just a great example of how we can present data to your constituents. So I am going to, maybe we'll just, since this is in a map of Pismo Beach, actually, I'm just going to take you to the street view. We are in a town in California, and now you can see ta-da, the Pacific Ocean. So we'll close this map down. These are all of the other report types that we offer, or some of them. We can do a pie chart report, we can do a listing, and of course we can do mail merges so that you can generate a bunch of output based on a template. So additional features of this portal are the My Accounts. This is where you'd log in. You see all my logins right there. This is also where your new users would register. So I want to take you out to this registration page. Now, this is just an application to us. And this is a blank field, and you only see one. That means that this is a dynamic field. And when I select an answer here, it's going to populate some fields, or at least present them so that you can enter information. So if I select contractor, you get a whole drop down of fields. And if you notice, there's this little red hash bar up here. It says it indicates a required field. So email and confirm email, and then the address, the business name. You have to enter at least one phone number. And then we ask the user to create credential, username, and password. And then as we scroll down, you can see that we're also collecting workers' compensation information or liability insurance, additional contractor information. So we can configure this form to collect the data that you want to collect. Now, I know that you want to do trade licensing. If you didn't do licensing, this is how you could collect data on your contractors. This is one registration type. I'm going to switch over to, say, the anonymous registration type. This shows that we can enter just very limited portal information, right? Username and password. There's a field for the user to enter an email address, but if they want to come and create a code complaint and they want to be completely anonymous, this is how your users can do it. Now, not every jurisdiction wants to offer this type of registration type. That's okay. We're just showing you the sort of differences between these two types and what's possible within the system. So again, I should say, every time you see me do a drop-down menu, this is a configured option. So the things that are listed here are things that can be configured for you. You know, I don't know if I said this before, but the look and the feel of the portal can change. The color scheme can change. Of course, you would get your own logo at the top. We have one more stop to make. This is the Contacts tab. Again, it's configurable. These are stock photos that we have. We have a bunch of other ones. We can use your photos. We want to present information to your constituents to answer their questions. That's the whole purpose of this. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is that this portal was built with HTML5 responsive design. And what that means to you is if I come to this site on my tablet, that this website is going to spread to the width of the screen, and it's going to become navigable on that smaller screen. So here you can see I have a finger clickable menu. I can go to the home page. Before we had our menu up at the top right, our navigation menu, and now it's here in this menu. So this is the view from, say, an iPad mini maybe, or an iPad screen. But if I wanted to come on my cell phone even, the screen is still going to shrink. So it's going to display in a logical, usable way so that your citizens, sorry, I just hit the back button on my mouse. So here's the home page. We can still go to the services pages. You get all of this information in a readable way. And this is so important now, right? Because we can't dictate how our users are going to come to our site. There are so many devices that can load a browser. And as long as they can get to the internet, they can load our site and it will show up in a logical way. So this is my overview of the portal. We are going to do some applications from the portal today. We're also going to load applications on the staff side. So both are possible. I'm going to minimize this. I want to take you into Citizenserve. So speaking of role playing, we've been wearing that hard hat, right? You put one on where you have some symbol for what it's like to act as a citizen. I want you to get rid of that now. Take it off. We've left the portal. So let's imagine putting on a name badge that says Morgan, because we're going to go look at Morgan Katz's homepage. I'm going to spend the next 11 minutes showing you how to navigate through the system so that as we jump into it later, I'm probably not going to do that through every session, although if you have questions, I just might do a little bit of it because I want to help you along and not have you wonder where you are. So this is Morgan's homepage. Every subscriber gets their own homepage that they can configure. Now, we'll set them all up for you during your implementation, but each user can configure it to their needs. So I'm going to show you some of the widgets that are on her homepage. Now, you get her intro at the top. You get an image. You could have this be a town logo. We'll see that throughout today's demo. It tells her how many tasks she has. And then this first widget here is her task list. So these are mostly test users or they're copies of production. So sometimes there's going to be a lot of tasks that are sitting there that are old. I want to point out in the metrics over here that she has 5 that are due and 18 that are overdue, and I can use these metrics to just limit my view. This looks way more reasonable to me for a task list. But if we want to look at the full list, we can. Just remember that she's not she's not a real person. She is digital, and I am the puppeteer here running through her account. So, well, let's just take a look at this task list really quick. We can see that we've got some red items over on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on this red alert. This alert was placed on the system by Morgan Katz. Alerts can be placed on a property or on a file or on a contact. This one is on a property. It's on this address, which I use all the time, and it says stop work, began without a permit, charge double the fees. This alert is going to sit on this project so that anyone in any department who has any dealings with this property is going to see this alert. Now, these alerts can be added to other items. So let's see if I've got let me just check and see. I know that I've got some on a contractor. This is the same one, right? Same address. We'll try this different address. We'll see if we get a different alert. Here we go. This is an alert that's placed on a contact, Acme Construction. It says verify funds. This contractor has bounced 2 checks in the past. So this would be helpful for the business department, right? If they're processing that renewal, then they'll get this message that they should be verifying funds on that check. So again, it's just a way to present information. It will stick in a site on that object, whether it's a contact or a property, so that all of your staff can see it. And when it's resolved, this will disappear. So there's also this hand. This is an example of a standing condition. And if I select this hand, it's going to pop up the conditions. And you can see that there's these 2 different permit numbers, and these are the permissions or the conditions that have been set. They're both on the same property, so we get a display of all of that. Now, a standing condition is set in the review process, and it can stand on that project until it gets resolved as well. So besides these alerts, you get a link to the task that you want to do. There is a link to the project itself if you want to go and look at the file. There's a description, or here's the address, sorry. The description goes over in this column. Then there's a status and then a due date. And then we have some metrics here that will help you. We already changed our view by clicking the 5 due. Now, we route many things into someone's inbox, and when there is a task activated, they can work on it. They can do this work. They can change the status. They can complete it, and it will fall off the task list. But we're also able to route things to an unassigned task list. So we will do that for our inspections today. Those will come through as unassigned, and those will be available here in this metric, and we'll take a look at that during the inspection portion. So we also have metrics available. Metrics are in this section. They're these color bars. They are a graphical way to represent information about a process. So I'll point out this in the pending permit review. There is a link here. It says that there are 105 tasks. If I click on the link, it's going to pull up all 105 projects that are still in the pending state. So if you see the color bar, it's broken into different color categories, and those correspond to these different departments. So there are 36 pending permit reviews in health, 4 in public works, 33 in fire, 19 in building, and 13 in planning and zoning. So already you can see how that work is splayed out, right? How it's been assigned, and maybe where the holdups are. Boy, 36 in health and 33 in fire. You can tell the user accounts I don't go into, right, and promote work. So the cool thing about this metric is that it's very visible, right? It's a snapshot in time. But if you want to dig deeper, you can. So let's click on this list of 13 in the planning and zoning department. Oh, that's funny. I am logged in as a building user, and I lost my mind for a moment. So we're going to log in to the building department. Now you can see I am able to give the user access to both files or not, and that can be done at the metric level, or it can be done at a project level. So by clicking this building list, I'm able to see all, was this 19 tasks that make up this metric. And if I want to dive deeper into this metric, I just click on one of those files. Now, we're browser-based. That means we'll work on any device, any browser, as long as it's fairly recent. But that also means we want to use all of the features of the browsers. We didn't build our own spell checker. We're not building our own back buttons. We want to embrace the tools that are available. And as they build more tools into the browsers, we want to use them. So here we have a tab with our permit detail. We can open up as many tabs as we need. We can do our work in this window, and we can close it down. And there is our existing metric where we started from. So this is a very helpful feature. It also allows you to compare work side to side if you have 2 mirrors. I don't know if you're even looking at me in the camera, but I'm talking with my hands, so I can turn the camera off if that's distracting. But here on the screen, we see our metrics. Now let me show you how we can configure these metrics. So I click the gear icon, and this shows a listing of all of the sort of out-of-the-box metrics that are in the system. If I want to add one, maybe we'll do an hours entered. To add a metric, you just select the period, so show me everything for this year, and then the scope would be whose work is it? And I'm going to say give me everybody since this is a demo environment and I don't have tons of data in here. So that adds a metric over on my list on the left, or sorry, on the right. And then we save it, and it's going to load the metric on my screen. So it's easy to add new metrics to your home page. Let's scroll down and we'll see it loaded here. Now we can see our fourth metric, hours entered. We get to look, we can see that Morgan Katz only has one. I'm going to click on Liam's name. He's also in the building department. So I'm able again to see this data. Now, what if you want to see hours? And like you can see no hours, no hours, no hours. And down here, he's got a couple little bits of hours assigned. What if you wanted to see something else, or if you wanted to see all the zeros highlighted in red because the expectation is that your users will put all of their hours in the system for every activity? If you want to see different data, or if you want to change like that, or if you have an idea of a metric that you want to see that isn't on that list, that's just a request to this, the Support Center. And you can get to that up here. So from Support Center, you just click Submit a New Request. This is all within Citizenserve. You're already logged into the system, so it's going to populate your data at the bottom. You can just give the name of the request. You know, can you make the hours field red when it's 0 on my hours metric? You can give the request, you can give a broader description. Remember, the more data you provide, the quicker they'll be able to understand and respond to you. And then you submit this. Now, Tara already said they have about an 85% same-day turnaround, but they are very quick to respond. You can set this. This is just a standard request. You can set it as urgent if it is an urgent request, and they will respond within the hour. But I have to say the response times are so quick that they are responding to most things within an hour, if not sooner. So that is how you enter a Support Center request. Every user has access to the Support Center, so every user can request reports or request their own metrics to present the information that they need. All right. Oh, holy cow, it's 5:28. So there are other features here on the homepage, like how to get to recent files and how to get to notes, but let's switch gears, or the notes are sort of a note to self. So there are these fun features that are available. You can configure them by clicking on this gear icon. If you notice, she doesn't use the calendar icon. A calendar would be an event with a timestamp as well as a date stamp. Our inspectors use that. So if you have a feature that you don't use, you just uncheck it. And you can also reorder your features at the reorder window. I do want to talk to you just really quick about our search features. We have a quick search up here. So if we wanted to look at every building permit that was created in 2020, it'll pull up a listing here. You can see that there are 45 and you can navigate through this window. When you click on those links, they'll open up in your window. So this is a configurable field too. If we go back to that blank screen, you have 3 fields here. You can click this gear icon. You get to pick your favorite 3 fields. So if you enter parcel numbers, select that one. If you want to search by company name, you would search that, you would select that one. So we can change this. If I wanted to do parcel number instead of address, that'll be my new 3, and then it'll update that window. So that gives you some configurability to really set your accounts up to help you work the way that you like to work. I also want to point out the search screen. So I'm going to do search for a file, but you notice we can also search for a contact, that's a person, or we can search for a property. And we are property based. So I'm going to do search for a file really quick, and we will look for, say, how about building permits that are in the final state? And we will just do a quick search. Now, we have all of these fields that you can enter. You can add a description if you want to filter that search. This has just pulled up a list of 53 files that are in this filtered state. And you notice this address that I really like, 941 Bakersfield. We're probably going to use that today. And I'm just going to finish this up, and then we'll actually start and do some work. So here is our permit screen. This is a permit project. We see a listing of tabs at the top of the screen. All of our projects are going to be set up to have the name at the top, an image over here, the descriptor of the file, and then the tabs that you can access. So we have the permit application here. We have a review tab where we can see the review, the review route that has been assigned to this project. And we will look at this more as we go through the process. but we are let's see, I'll take a look at the inspections tab. This will show any inspections that have been assigned to this project. Activities are going to show any activities that have been assigned outside of the work view. Anything online is going to appear here. It's also going to go to somebody's queue or to the unassigned task list. So it is your consumers and your citizens and contractors talk to you, you'll know about it. The Documents tab is going to show all of the documents that have been uploaded or generated for part of this project. So we'll see emails and merged documents. I should point out that anytime you see a drop-down arrow in a header like this is a filterable field. So if I wanted to just look at the emails that have been generated, I can look at the emails. If I wanted to look at the system emails, the system-generated emails, I could change my search. On the Contacts tab, you can see a list of all the contacts on the file. You can have as many contacts as you want. This listing gives you the ability to click on the other files icon, and it'll show you all of the contacts, the files that this contact is associated with. So I can sort by type. If I wanted to just look at permits, you can see all of the permits. Or if I wanted to look at code, you could look at code. And this is a powerful feature, right? Because it shows you how this user is involved in your site. So this is just a little bit about how to navigate Citizenserve, what these tabs mean when you see them. And now we're going to jump in and we are going to do the first portion of the permitting and design plan review stage. So we are going to go out to the portal and we are going to submit this application as if we were a contractor. I'm going to take you back to Morgan's homepage here, and we're going to let that load. And we are going to jump out to the portal. So again, we're not logged into the system yet, but imagine that you're wearing a hard hat, right? We are going to submit this application from the portal, and then we're going to process it on the staff side. So here we are as a contractor. We have investigated this site. We already looked through that. We're going to apply online. So we can do that through the Apply Online button here, or we can do that through the home page. So let's click Apply Online. And now it's asking me to log into the site. Remember, if I didn't have a login, I could use the Register Now, and I could register for an account on the portal. But I'm going to just use my regular demo account here. And we're going to log into the system. So it's taken me to the permit application, and I'm going to select the application type. Now remember, again, this is a drop-down, so it's configured for this site. So my options are building permit, electrical permit, express permit, the GBPA building permit, a mechanical permit, plumbing, or pool. And I'm going to select the building permit. For the subtype, again, it's a drop-down, so these can be configured for you. I'm going to select new construction. Now this work description is for a multifamily housing project, right? So I'm going to call this Rochester Multifamily Housing Building Permit. Now, if we had an existing project that we wanted to tie this application to, we could select existing project and type in the project number. If we didn't have that, we could type in the address. But for this demo, I am just going to say that this is a new project. And I'm going to put in, maybe I won't take my favorite address. I'm going to choose something on Taft. Now, I'm putting in a partial address here. What I want to show you is our searchability. So when I click Find Address, it's going to search for everything in our database that has 9 Taft in it. So here I'm going to select 970 Taft Street. Now that pulls in parcel and ownership data. And the way that we run this is we would load your best set of parcel data into the system, whether that's through your county or through your local GIS. You would give us that source and we would load it into the system. And then your contractors would have a good address to select from. So is this going to be, is there going to be a swimming pool or spa? We'll say no. The number of structures to be built or modified, this is again an example of a dynamic field. And this is a benefit over a paper application, right? If we had 3 structures, we could choose 3 and then it would display information for those 3 fields or those 3 structures. When I select 1, I can just put in the occupancy type here. Now we would help you load all of this data. We'd want you to give us your occupancy types, your construction types, or I should remind you that this is the building application that was built for this environment. If these aren't the questions that you ask, we would leave them off of your build. I'm going to put in, see, what I normally do in my demos is a residential 1 and 2 family, but we are doing a multifamily. So I need to change my residency type. And I am going to just check the 5B construction type. This may or may not be correct. So then for square footage, we'll say that there's, we'll say it's 6,000 square feet. An estimated construction cost. Now, I don't know what housing prices are like there or construction prices are like there. That is actually more than I wanted to estimate for my construction. There we go. We'll say we can do this for $780,000. We can dream, right? Now, we are integrated with contractor licensing in this environment. So one of the things that we get to do for that is we can search for a list of licensed contractors. So that's what this selector is doing. If I try to find Acme Construction, especially if I spell it right, it's not finding any records found because there are no active licenses for Acme Construction. But if I type in MJ, I get MJ's construction crew, and I'm able to select that license. Now, we can do this a couple different ways. If you want to show the inactive licenses, we can show that as well. We are going to add an architect to this one. We'll add Jen Jones Architecture. Now, this listing is different. This is just pulling up the contacts in the file. So we're able to associate different users with this file. But here, this is going to allow Jen to go and upload some plans to this site. And then for the property owner field, if there was a parcel ownership change that hadn't hit the parcel data yet, if it hadn't been uploaded yet, the contractor has the ability, or the applicant has the ability, to add a new contact to the system. And it would just be for this file. But we're just going to select the owner from the parcel data. Now, we're able to submit documents here, but if you notice, none of these are required. So I'm going to leave this blank, and our architect is going to come back and load these. And so now I'm down at the submittal options. So here we can see some checkboxes or some bullet points. We would list what your attorneys would want your submittal to be. There's a checkbox here that says, I agree to all terms and conditions, but let's pretend I didn't see that. I'm going to leave that blank. There's a signature box here. These are also just showing you some of these different field types that we have, because we can collect your data in a bunch of different ways. We'll just use our custom fields to do that. So I'm going to use my mouse, and I'm going to sign here and save, and that creates a signature file. Now, we have the ability to, like, this is just a field to show you can put in a lot of data or a big hyperlink here. And this drawing box just gives us the ability to draw like a rudimentary site plan document. So we could say, here is our building, and then here's our property line. This was actually a customer request. They wanted their contractors to be able to do that. So we added it to the system, and now it's available to all users. So we have filled out our application. The whole first check of this is that we have a bunch of required fields here, and the system is going to check for those. So if you notice, I have two buttons at the bottom. I am able, if I get called away, right, if it's lunchtime and I have to drop everything and make lunch for my kiddo, I can save for later. Or I can submit now. So I'm going to do that. And it's scanning through the system to verify that those required fields are filled out, and it's telling me that I've missed one. So it's highlighting this in just light blue here. I can check it off. And now when I submit, it's going to submit to Citizenserve on the staff side. Now, I get this pop-up that my application has been received, and then it's taking me to the payment processor. But it has also sent me an email in the background. So as soon as I get this in my inbox, and I change my filters on my inbox to show new stuff, there we go. So I get a pop-up. I get an email, and I'll drag it over for you. So here is our application. This is coming to me as the applicant. It gives me header information about the file, gives me my description, right, the project number, but more importantly, it gives me this breadcrumb trail. There's a link here so I can get back to the portal, and that's really helpful. So that comes to my inbox. I'm also taken to the portal side, so I'm going to have to pay for this this permit application. Now, we would set up your permit based on your paper application. I know you've sent us a couple. Those fields that should trigger fees, like we want your fee structure so we could load that into the system too, because the goal would be to just charge based on what your applicant enters, and that would be listed here. Now, in this instance, they're doing a plan review fee at the beginning and then a permit issuance fee before that gets issued. Some jurisdictions just want to do like a $75 application fee at the beginning, and then they issue the permit and charge at that point. We can set those up for you however you want those to be set up. So I'm going to put in my name, and I'm going to put in some credit card information. We'll put in the expiration date. So this is just a payment processor, right? We have code written to, I think, 18 or 19 different payment processors. And so if an interface is already built to one of those payment processors, you would get that interface for free. But if you want to use something that isn't on our list already, we would charge you to do the integration. And then the next lucky customer that wanted to use that vendor would get that for free. We don't have a relationship with our vendors, with the payment processors. We don't charge an overhead. We let you decide what you want to use. All right. We have submitted our payment GASP. That's a lot of money. I'm glad I don't have to do this every day, right, or with real money. Let's go take a look at what this project looks like from the portal side. Now, I also got another email in the system because I just made a payment, so it's a receipt email. So here's another one, Citizenserve online payment received. And I should say, these are all based in HTML, so we can change the look and feel of these. This is the standard email that will come out of the box. But we can update this information. This is instructions to your constituent. This header information we can update if you want to display different data. And then, of course, that link at the bottom is really, really helpful. So still in the portal, we're going to look at this request. I'm going to click this link, B20-53. This is our project on 970 Taft Street. I'm saying this again so it'll help you identify this as we get into the system. We're going to open up this permit project, and now I'm going to show you what the file looks like from the citizen side. So we have tools on the left-hand side. We have the header information in the center. This is that same image we pulled off of Google Images that can be updated. And then we have these tabs across the face of the document or the project. So there's the permit tab. This lists all of the questions that have been asked on the permit and then all of the answers that we provided. On the reviews tab, we get to see the workflow route that has been assigned to this project. Now, Citizenserve can do both consecutive and concurrent reviews. This particular workflow goes through an application intake step. And then if it's completed and if it's approved, then it will go and trigger about 5 other reviews. And then when those are all completed, it'll go back to the building department and they'll complete the review and they'll issue. Now, we're not going to go through all of these reviews today, but I'm going to take you through a couple. We'll show you our document markup tool. And you'll be able to see how these statuses update and how we get completion dates. But this particular workflow is going to do one consecutive review, and when it's complete, then we'll have some concurrent reviews happen. So we can set up your workflow routes, based on your current workflow. I'm switching over to the Documents tab so you can see we've got just 2 documents. That's the drawing that we created and the signature file that we created on the application itself. If we had uploaded site plan documents, we'd see them here, and we're going to do that in a second. We're going to do that as our architect. And then finally, the Inspections tab would show any inspections on this project. So, and we'll get to see those there later in the day. All right. So we have submitted this application, and you want the architect to be able to go in and upload plans. So if you've got a big project like this, we can get all of those subcontractors or other users added to the project. We're going to log out as me, and let's log in as Jen Jones. So I'm just using the login buttons here. You could also do this through the My Accounts tab. Let's see if I can find Jen Jones. And we will log into the system. So this is the My Accounts page. When you're logged in, you have access to apply for all of these features here. You can access and renew your business licenses. You can go to your development projects. They're all available. We're going to click View My Requests, and we're going to go to our building permit. And this is our same, right? It's number 53. We've got the same access. We can look at the permit. We get to see the questions that were questions and the answers that were provided. We could go to the Reviews tab and see that, and we can access the same documents list. But we also have the ability now to upload documents. So we're going to click on this link, and we're going to select files off our computer. It works even better when you click the button and then it pops up for you. So we are going to go into my planning stuff, and we're going to pull out a couple documents. So we've got a 4-unit apartment. 4 units seems small for New York, but that's what I'm going to use. So we can call this just a floor plan. And then it's going to allow me to upload this other files. So if I wanted to do maybe an environmental assessment, I could, and maybe a grading plan. So I'll take those. And it's asking for a description. If my file names weren't as logical, this would be helpful. It's grading. And now we'll submit these. So we have just uploaded documents as the architect on this project. And you can see that we can upload as many as we want. And now from the Documents tab, we get to see all of these applications that have come through, or all of these documents that have been uploaded. So we've gone through and we've submitted the application. We've uploaded some additional plans through the portal. I hope that you can see how your citizens can access the site and can use it to communicate with you through the system about their projects. We are going to jump over to the staff side now, and we are going to log in back as Morgan. Now, since we were already logged in and we haven't done any work here or changed screens, I'm going to do a refresh to pull up that new project. And we're just going to filter her view to the 7 that are due. And now we get to see there's our building permit at the bottom. Oh, this is perfect. Actually, we can see it twice. So when the initial application came through, we can see there's an application intake step for this. That's her first part of the workflow. But then the architect just uploaded documents. If she wasn't already in the file and didn't see that activity come in, this is how it comes in. So she's able to click on this activity, and we'll just go complete this and we'll get it off our task. So we can see the three files that were uploaded by that. We get to see a description of those in the comments field. So I can say, I can even open these, right? I can take a look at that 4 apartment PDF. We'll make sure that it's good. Oh, here it is. I was like, what? Did I upload a blank document? Here we go. So here's the floor plan there for that 4-unit apartment. So here you can verify these documents. You can make notes, right? We'll just pretend that I verified all. Okay, verified all documents. And if you notice these underlines, right, this is because I had a typo. This is just the browser spell checker. So I'm going to put in that note, and I'm going to put in a completion date of today, and then we'll update the status. We'll say it's complete. So that's going to take it off my task list. Now, I'm in the project, so I can go to my Reviews tab, and I can access the work. If we look at this Review tab, we're seeing the review route that's been assigned, but I want to show you what that's like to access that from your home page, because that's typically how you're going to collect your work and do it. So here's our task list. Again, it's just showing the 6 that are due, and that online document upload is gone, but now we can do this application intake activity. So this is assigned to our project. It's taking us to the Review tab. We were just there, but our view is within the activity itself. If I click back out, and just on the tab header, then you get to see the full review route that's been assigned. And again, we only have a due date in this first task because this is the only one that's been assigned in the system. This one has to be completed before we move on in the process. So we are going to go back into this activity, and I want to point out some things. This is assigned. This tells you the name of the activity. It tells you who it's assigned to. It tells you the department that it's assigned to. And each department has their own set of activities. So you'll get a different listing in that dropdown. Now, she wants to review the permit application and review the documents to make sure everything's okay. So I'm going to click this ... And that's going to open up the whole permit application in a new tab. This will let me drag that tab to a separate monitor so I can compare the permit application with my review activity. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it this way because it's hard to get everything set up and lined up perfectly in one monitor to show you in this demo. But the whole idea is that you can drag these side to side. So on the staff side, you get different activities, right? You get different fields that are visible on this application. So we have some dollar amounts, like there's a total amount, the amount paid, and the balance that's due. We see a valuation field. If you notice, we've got some more of these ... This is more information. And in this case, it pulls open the description, the valuation description. So you get to see how that's calculated. So if you make changes to this calculation, it'll change the valuation number. And that's actually how we're driving the fees on this. And we'll go down and take a look at that. Here you can see that we have the project questions that were answered, right? We have project information, we have our contact information, and then we have our submittal documents. So As we scroll down, here we can see that our fees are assigned. There's the calculate permit fees based on valuation. If we toggle it to estimated construction costs, I want to point out our total fees due are $46,000. I'm going to recalculate based on this new calculation that was selected in that dropdown. And when I do that, it changes our total fees to $67,000. So we can put in your costs here or your calculations, and we can give you different options to select from. But remember, this too is a configured file. So if you don't want to see these fees or these options here, just remember that we can configure these to you. I'm going to recalculate those fees just to set it back to being based on valuation. All right, so she's going to look at this, and you can see that these documents aren't uploaded here because they didn't get uploaded on the application, but we have access to the document list. So when we go over there, we're going to see all the documents that have been uploaded. Here we can see in the online document uploaded, we have the grading plan and that environmental assessment and that 4-unit apartment, and I can click on this and open it. And there again is that same floor plan that we were looking at. I need to drag my mirror down to the bottom. So here is that floor plan. Now we have the ability to do document markup. So I am going to go back to my review activity. Now her job is to validate these fields, to validate this application. And one of those things is to validate these documents. We did a little bit of that through that document upload, online document uploaded activity, but I want to show you how we can do that using the markup tool. So I clicked this little tool over in our toolbar within the activity, and I'm going to select that 4-unit apartment. Now, it's going to take it just a couple of seconds, like maybe up to 30 seconds, to pull this document into our document markup tool. What it's doing is converting it into a format that we can add a layer to, where our comments are going to live. Each reviewer gets their own layer, so you're not going to clobber anybody else's review comments because you're going to be working in your own space. Now, with the markup tool, this is browser and device independent, so all you need is a browser. We don't have to load a special app. You don't have to use a special computer. This is just in our browser, and this is the only tool like this in the marketplace. And this comes with your subscription, so you don't have to add anything or pay extra for this. So our document has loaded, and I'm going to scroll down so that we can see it. Now, what she would do is she would take a look at this and go, okay, it's a floor plan. She can drag on a stamp. And let's see, so we can drag a stamp onto every page as well. Make this larger so you can see it. So every tool that we add in the markup gets the ability to add comments from the Common Comments book or to add a manual comment. And you can change the configuration of the shape here. So if I wanted to change this to green, I could do that. I'm going to just go to the comments button, and I'm going to add a comment that says Morgan reviewed on, gosh, is today Monday morning. And we'll go ahead and save this. So we're just going to add this one shape. We're going to validate that this is a floor plan, and we'll save it. Now, if she were missing documents or she needed to contact the applicant, she could do that in a system. That has saved my comments, and now I would be able to go in and I would be able to check every other document. I could put on a receive stamp if I wanted, or I could just validate that the plan was good, and I could close it down. Now, the document markup tool is fully integrated. What that means is the comment that I just added to that markup tool on that document is brought down to my review comment screen so that I can include them in a document markup sheet, or I could send these comments out to the applicant. Let's talk about how else we can use this review activity. And that's, we've got review comments down here. If you notice, we've got another comment book. So if I wanted to make project-specific comments, I could pull up that Common Comments book. And you can see the step that's selected is application intake, but we have a bunch of other fields that are available. So if I wanted to highlight a comment that's used frequently, I could say, please update a cost affidavit, and please update, a landscape plan. I did a grading plan. So we'll just ask for these. These are editable fields. You can put your mouse in here. You can make it say whatever you want. If you want to add a new comment, just add a new comment. This is a new comment. And then we can save these. These are also going to be pasted down here in the review comment section, and these will be included in our email when we send it out to to the applicant. In fact, we're missing some data here, right? So let's do that. Let's notify the applicant that we need additional information. So I'm going to click that email template, and then I'm going to select the template I'm looking for. We'll do incomplete application. To address this email, I'm going to click the ... and that's going to pull up both the contacts that are on this card, right? The property owner, the architect, and the applicant. We can also include external contacts. We can add them here, but they're listed here. We've got board members that we might want to email. And then at the bottom, we have staff members. So I'm going to select myself as the applicant, and I'll click save. Or maybe because the architect uploaded some documents too, we'll click both of them. And now we can see they're both included. And if you want to type in the message, you can, but I'm going to just show you a preview of this email. This is the template that's created. It says incomplete application notice, and it's going to include the comments. The following submittal documents were not provided. This is the new comment that I added in the comment sheet. So it just takes those review comments and it includes them here in this template. And now we'll just send this application or send this email. So we have gone through a very basic review step. We validated some documents. I showed you a sneak peek of the document markup tool. We sent an email out, and now I'm going to complete this activity because I want to show you what's going to happen to that review route. So I'm going to give this a completed status. Now, in your real workflow, would you really approve this and send this on to review if you had documents outstanding? You wouldn't. You'd wait for the applicant to do that upload. So you would verify that the documents were the correct ones. You could make a note of that, and then you would approve this. We're just going to say approve with conditions. That will work. Just for this space of this demonstration. So now we're taken into the review route. We're still on the reviews tab, but this view of the review route lets you see the status of the review route. These are all different statuses that can be defined. If you completed this review route, you could automatically complete all of these activities in this. And I think that we'll go through this later so you can see. This review route now has due dates assigned for a bunch of these other review activities. We've completed application intake. There's a completed date set. And by completing this with this approved with condition status, it's triggered these other review activities to begin. So we're not going to go through all of these in today's demo, but we are going to go through some of them. So I want to take you to a new user. So we've been wearing a name badge that says Morgan. And I want you to update the name on that name badge to Liam. He is in our building department. I'm just refreshing his view so that we can see those new activities. If we filtered his view to just see the 4 that are due, you can see we have this house application and then our Rochester project. So you can also see that he has 2 activities on his task list, right? He has application review and he has required inspections. And we're going to go through both of these because they're just a little bit different. And I want to show you that we've got some other functionality. This is the application review activity. This looks very similar to what Morgan just completed. Liam is in the same department. He is a plan reviewer, or he's a building inspector, and he does plan review. So he wants to do the same thing that Morgan just did. He is going to want to take a look at the permit application so he understands the project. He clicked on that ... and it pulled open this permit in a new tab. We can see the same project that Morgan was just looking at. We get to see all the answers. He sees that this is a multifamily project. It's one structure. It's about 6,000 square feet, the estimated construction cost. And he gets to see how this application was configured. I think what I'll do is I just want to take a little sidebar into cash sharing really quick. Usually I do this as Morgan, but I'm just so excited to talk to you all about what Citizenserve can do that I totally skipped this step, but this is a really integral piece of our files here in Citizenserve. Especially, this is how we can add a new fee to the project. Remember that I talked about how we would want to load your fee structure based on your current paper structure. We would want to trigger your fees automatically based on the questions or the answers that your applicants provide. But if you do need to add an ad hoc fee, this is how you do it. So let's add a $25 miscellaneous fee. I want to point out that we have a drop-down button here where we can filter by fee group. So if you had penalties or interest or copies or some other groupings that you would want to select fees from, you could select the name here and it would change your view on this screen. So we'll just add a $25 miscellaneous fee, and I'm going to load it into the system or add it, and we can see that it's added here, a miscellaneous fee. There's the description we gave and the total amount. So now if we wanted to collect a payment as well, or if you take a check in the mail, or if a contractor comes to you with a credit card over the counter, this is how you can log that payment. I'm going to click that credit card. It's going to pull up our payment tracker. And you get to set the types here. None of these are required, but if you want to track this information, we certainly want to allow you to do that. So these are the different types of payment, but if you took Bitcoin, we could add that. If you took chickens, we could add that. These are all configurable, right? So I'm going to select credit. I'm going to say that it was an American Express, and I'm going to say that it was $5,000. And we will go ahead and save that. So Citizenserve can be used to generate invoices for you of balances due. These are receipts that are generated. These are just associated with the payment amount. You can generate a receipt here. And so this receipt amount is being applied. Now remember, I'm showing you a template that was built for the town of Buena Vista. If you want more detail, we can put more detail in. This is just HTML. And we have the ability to pull out any field in the system to print on your reports. So that's available in the system as well. So let's go back to this review activity, and let's open up that markup tool again, because there are other things that we can do with that markup tool versus just adding a stamp. So I am going to select this 4-unit apartment PDF, and it's going to load faster this time because it's already in the cache of my machine. So here it is. Now, we just added a stamp as Morgan, and if you notice at the bottom, Liam is listed and so is Morgan. So I can click Show All Reviewers, and it's going to pull up her review. But remember, Morgan has her own layer. So Liam is not able to make changes, not able to move this around, but he can click on these view comments and see what she said. So he's going to do the same thing. He's going to pull on a received stamp if he wants. So these are just examples. I just want to show you what the system can do. This does not have to be the process that you model. Reviewed on Monday morning, and we'll save this. So the way that this works, this is a 1/4 inch is equal to a foot. We're able to do drawings on this and calculations in this tool, which makes it really helpful. The first thing we'd want to do to be able to do a calculated field, right, is we need to calibrate this document. So I'm going to click on my calibration tool, and I am going to draw a defined line. So I'm going to click in this corner here, and I'm going to drag. And when I lift up, it's going to prompt me to enter this distance, which is 72 feet. It might be too small for you to see. It depends on how big your monitors are. But I have essentially calibrated this document based on this line that's stated. Now, you would want to do this from a scale diagram, right? But this plan document doesn't have that. That may be feedback you want to give to your applicant, right? So now let's go do a square footage calculation. So let's go ahead and click this area tool. And I'm just looking, this one says unit 3, this is unit 4. So let's just take a calculation of unit 4, and I will do my best here. Oh, this must be too. So I have started in the center of my document, which is, this is not how you want to do your drawings, right? But all we're doing is creating an outline of the shape. And when I complete it and connect it to itself, it's going to give the area. And if I make the estimate bigger, this is coming up as 869.22 square feet. So this is a tool that I've added, right? I just created this calculation. It's calling itself area, but I can rename it, and I can say unit for square feet. Now, this calculation says 869, and their document says 900 square feet. So it's probably because I'm on the inside or the inside of the lines because I'm scaled out so much. But that's a pretty good approximation feet-wise. So you can see that their numbers seem pretty square. So we can also, because this is so big, maybe I want to make this smaller. We can also add shapes to this document. So I'm going to take the arrow and I'm going to point at this crawl space. Now I can make this bigger. I can change the color. Let's make this blue. I can call this crawl space, and that will give the applicant information about this process. So I can do crawl space, and if I wanted to, I could go to the Common Comments book, and I could pull up some specific comments related to this, especially if I click the button. So here it lists everything. I could go down to residential construction, and I could pick off some specific comments related to this shape, and then I can click Save. So that's how you can add some comments. Now, we could add some comments to this square footage too, right? There is a Common Comments box here, and there's a manual comments at the bottom. So I'm again going to select residential construction here, and I'll pick off some other comments related to this. So for Common Comments, we could help you load, like if you have Common Comments already, we would create a book for you. But if you don't have Common Comments, we could just, let your users enter their own comments for about 6 months. And then we could check through those and see what the common ones were, and we could build a book for you. So we'll save this. All right, so we have done some measurements. We have done 2 different review activities on this form. I know that we have a lot of stuff that we want to get through in this plan review. So I'm trying to show you the features that are available here. Now, we could go through all of these documents just in order, and we could do markups on all of them, but I'm just going to stick with this one document. And you can see, again, through that integration, we're pulling the comments down that we applied, and they're available here on this activity. So we're going to complete this activity, and this time I'm not going to send an email. The system, though, we'll go ahead and say that that's approved. The system, though, is going to generate an email out to me. So the system is able to generate emails automatically when you close an activity. You can choose if you want that to happen based on the task. Like maybe this application intake, we know that Morgan is going to send out notes, so we didn't have that one set up. I'm going to pull up that automated email that was just sent out. There it is. So this is just our plan review report. It shows us the document that was noted. These different stamps were added, or these different tasks were added, shapes, and then the different comments that were added as well. Now, the cool thing is when we go out to the portal, we'll be able to see the comments that were added on that activity, but we'll also be able to see the markup that was added. Now, I have a couple other things that I want to do, and then we're going to finalize this application. So Liam was assigned 2 activities. We could go back to the home page to see it, but he's also able to select the other activity right from this workflow. You can see his name here, and this is due. So he can go into required inspections. Now, we've gone through 2 review activities that had the user fill out the Common Comments book or add some manual comments to the review activity at the bottom of the screen. We can certainly set up your Common Comments book if that's how you want to do your reviews. But if you have a specific set of steps that need to be completed, we can build those for you as custom questions on your review activity and have your staff complete them. So for this activity, Liam is supposed to fill out this form and select all of the inspections that apply to this application. So he's not going to do a pier, and he's not going to do a rough electrical. All we do is check off this checklist, update his status. He'll say that this is complete. If you want to log hours, it took us less. Maybe we'll just do, I thought I hit the delete button. Let's try this again. Just a very limited amount of time there. And I'll go ahead and save this activity. So now you can see that we've done these 3 activities. We're able to see the steps along each way. We can see the different statuses. So every staff member can come in and look at the activities on this project and know exactly where it stands. We know that Stacy in health, her review is pending. Same with Brianna in fire. Ryan James over in planning and zoning has another one. And when these 3 are complete, it's going to go back to Morgan Katz. But for this demo, we're going to switch over. We're going to update your name tag. We're going to log in as Ryan James. Let's see if I can remember which user account he is. Yes, this is Ryan James. We're going to refresh his view, and we're going to go through and we're going to deny this, right? Because you want to see not the best case scenario, but how do we handle these backs and forths between these different applications. So we are logged in as Ryan James. He's in our planning and zoning department. He is going to do his application review activity on our project. He's got the same activity, although remember that we can customize this. If each department wants their own separate type of review, we can do that. So let's go into that markup tool so that you can see what it looks like to have 2 users or 3 users with different reviews in there. It's going to open up so that nobody's comments are visible until you click the box, show all reviews. And then we get to see both Liam's, his items are marked as a 2 dot something. And then Morgan was the first reviewer, so she's 1.1. If we wanted to hide these, we could. Why don't I show you how, actually, we're just going to drag another stamp on the box. Actually, why don't I show you how you can create a stamp? I'm just going to do this so that you see how easy the system is to use. We're going to call this a hello world, or hello world if you don't want to spell correctly. Where did my D go? Oh, I've run into, haha, the name has to be short enough. Hello world, I took out that space. Now I can get it as wide as I want it here. So we will add a date stamp and a username. And if we wanted to, we could pull in an image. You could also pull in a stamp here, or a signature. I'm just going to select the Town of Buena Vista logo. And it is going to, it looks a little scrunched there. So I'm just going to make this a little bit taller and maybe a little bit wider. And we can change the outline color. Let's pick fuchsia, purplish. Now, I've created a stamp. It just took a couple of seconds to pull in the data that I wanted. I can change the settings here on the task. And then when I'm done, I can choose if I want to share it with other people or if I just want to save it in my profile. And for this one, I'm just going to save it in my profile. So let's pull in this Hello World stamp. We'll put it over here. And then we can add a comment here as well. And this is Ryan reviewed. And we'll save this. So what I've shown you so far are how to add comments to a specific stamp or item that's been added. You can also go up to the top and you can make comments across the whole plan set, or this whole document. So if I wanted to, he's got a different set of comments, right? He's in a different department. So I'm going to select this commercial construction. This is a floor plan. But I'll go ahead and just pick these comments that I want to apply to the whole document. And he's noting a lot, right? Because he's about to deny these plans. So we've just made those comments here across this whole document. And now, of course, when I save it, it's going to take me back to my listing. And it'll allow me to select those other. So here we can see those comments have been brought down. Now in this activity, I'm going to add a completion date for today, and I'm going to give a status. Now, I know that we're going to deny this activity, right? He's going to say, no, I don't want these, this project to go forward. This is denied in my department. So the other thing that we want him to do is to add that CEQA review. So I'm going to add an activity. Now we have a default workflow that was assigned to this project, and I'll show you a little bit more about that throughout the demo today. But what your users are also able to do is they can add ad hoc activities. If this particular review needs an additional review activity, we can add an activity and we can select that. So let's see if I have planning and zoning. Here we go, a conditional CEQA review. So we're able to create an activity and add it to the project. Now, if this had extra checklists or whatever, we could define this activity so that it would include your checklist, or it could have a review just the review comments at the bottom if using the Common Comments book made the most sense. So we can give it a start date and we can give it a due date. We can say that it's due maybe by the 10th, and then we'll save this activity, and it's going to live here on the Activities tab. So let's go back to that review route. And that's also going to be in Ryan James's inbox. So we have done these 3 activities, and we were just in our application review task. And we're going to just add that completion date and our status again. And this one we're going to deny. So if I had saved this activity, I also could have added that new activity. So I just did that out of sequence a little bit. And so now we get to see on our list that we've got all of these activities completed. Now he's denied it. So maybe instead of doing these last 2 reviews and getting it sent to Morgan, he could send her an email to say, hey, I'm not going to approve this. He needs to get me more data. And then she would go into the system and she would delete it. So we can pretend that that has happened. And we're going to go back to Morgan's account. Now we are, I'm going to take you to another tab so you can see who we are. We're going to update your name badge, right? I've got 62 different users here. I want to make sure you know where we are. So we're in Morgan's account, and she was just in this activity, so we're able to just refresh it, and we'll get the additional details. Now what she's going to do is she's going to get notified, right? She sees that this is denied. Normally this would happen when it comes to her in this review complete activity, but we're going to jump the gun just for our time constraints today. So she's going to take this and change this whole review route status to denied. And we'll put in a completion date of today. And when I save this, it's going to prompt me that there are other activities on this route that haven't been completed and would I like to complete them. This is going to pull those tasks that are sitting on people's tasks lists out of those tasks. So out of those lists. So Stacy and Rihanna in health are no longer going to see these tasks because this review route has already been denied. So now what we're going to do is go over to the permits tab, and we're going to open up the permit. Now you saw from that we could have multiple permits listed there, and we'll get to see that later today. But we're going to update this status to resubmittal required. Now maybe you just want to deny it, right? We don't have that defined in this system, so we'll just say that it was resubmittal required. Now, we could also send an email notification to our user. I'm going to save this activity or save this update to the permit, and that's going to update our status on the permit. And then we can send an email if we want. We've got all of these tasks over on the left-hand side. I can do it from within a review activity, or I could do it from on the side in the permit itself. And this is going to give me a list of these different templates that I can select from. During your implementation, we are going to ask you to gather as much of your data as possible. We're going to ask you to this is asking us to pull up data from one of the last activities that we did. So we are going to ask you to gather your data, right? Your applications, your forms, any artifacts that you have in the system, and you'll give them to us, and we will build that for you in your initial implementation. But your subscription includes ongoing support. So after we build your project and you go live with it, if you need to add a new email template, you just send that to us as a request. Or if you need to change questions on your permit, you just add those to us, or send those to us, and we add those as part of your ongoing support. So I'm going to include myself as the applicant. I'm going to send this these details. I'm going to say your project was denied. Please submit a zoning permit. Or was it a site plan review? And we will send this off. So we have essentially notified the applicant that their project has been denied and what they need to do next. You can have that trigger based on status updates. So a lot of this can be automated for you. We're going to jump out to the portal. So we've been wearing a name badge, but we want to go check out what this application looks like from the staff side. So and it disappeared. Let's try this again. So here we are. We're logged in as the architect. So I'm going to log back out, and I want to log back in as the applicant, which is me. So in the portal, I just get to click View My Requests. Now, since I do demos, I have all of these different request types to select from. This is 20.53. So I've got all of these statuses up at the top. Here we go. So this one says resubmittal required, right? So we're able to access our project. And I just want to show you what it looks like since we are, we're going to get to look at that review tab and see all of our updated statuses. So we have 3 that are in pending state, but they have completion dates assigned because we rolled up this whole review route. We get to look at the links on each of these activities, and we get to see the comments that came through. Now, remember, these also generated an email. So there's this history available also. Now, on the Documents tab, we're going to see all of the documents that have been uploaded, and we get to see some of the emails that were generated. Those system-generated emails to say, you know, your status has changed, those aren't displayed here, but you get to choose what you want to display and what you don't want to display. I want to point out this View Comments link. This is how you can access the Common Comments tool. You get to see the comments that have been added to the system. And these are document level comments. So if I scroll down, but you get to navigate on the left-hand side to see either just the comments that were made at the document level or each of the comments that have been applied to the object. And this is taking a little bit longer. I don't know why this is hiccuping up, because it is such a cool feature to see. We'll give it a refresh. So the whole point of this is to show your contractor, right, the comments that have been made on their document, and you can do it within the markup tool. And I know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but for some reason my PDF isn't displaying here. So what you do get are a list of the comments, and if, you know, because something has to go wrong in a demo, this hopefully will just be it. You can select these different items and you get to see the comments per each one. And normally we would get a display of that document on the left as well. So this permit has been denied. And we got an email that says our review has been completed. In fact, at each review complete, we've been getting a notification that has information to go back to the, you get an update that this particular step has been completed, and a link back to the application. But what this user, sorry, this is the final one. Your project was denied. It includes all of these comments that we've submitted from all of these different reviewers, right? So here's Liam's, and here's Ryan's, and here's Morgan's. So this applicant can now go back and upload documents or can go and submit a site plan review. So we're going to go through that step. We're going to do a site plan review, but we're going to do it in a different environment that has some cool features loaded that I wanted to show you. So we're going to jump over to a different environment in Clayton. Now, what I've shown you so far is how to apply online for an application, but I also want to show you what it's like to add an application internally. So we're going to jump into another user. I have to pick the right profile here. So we're on staff side. We are in Clayton, Missouri. And I'm going to run you through adding a site plan document to a project. Now, let's go, and I'll show you the project that I created. All right. This is going to give me the ability to show you the search feature again. So I want to find the permit that I submitted on 212 Merrimack. So when I search for this address, it's going to search through the whole system, and it's going to pull up all of the files that are on this project. And we haven't shown you a property file yet, but I'm hoping that we will have time to do that. Perfect. So the first record that I have is this 212 South Merrimack. We see all of these other listings for projects. So I'm going to go ahead and select this permit. It's 174. So this is replicating the initial permit that we just did in our Buena Vista test environment. This particular status is denied, right? This application has been denied. So let's imagine that we did our initial demo in this environment and we went through the review process. We'll just go look and see that on this particular building permit, you can see the status of this. And they've gone through a couple of these different reviews. Everything else is complete. This status is not approved for this review process. So we can track these different workflow routes for each permit. Now, this user is supposed to submit an application for a site plan, but he comes into the counter and he says, I just got my permit denied and I need to add a site plan document. Can you help me with it? So you say, sure. So you can go to this initial project, right? Because you want the site plan to be associated with it. And we'll click that permit link. This is going to add a permit to this project. Now, if you wanted to create a new permit that wasn't added to this project, you would go up to the top of your screen and you would create a permit project. It would create a new project. So for this one, we're going to select the site plan review. And then our subtype is going to be residential. Now, it's asking for a description. Oh, but I'm running too fast. So what is this screen about? This is saying multiple routes are available for this file. Select the desired route. So if you notice, they have a site plan that's a staff review route and a site plan formal review route. So they go through two different workflow routes on their applications, on lots of them. So I've selected the staff review route. It gives me the default status and the start date. I could add some comments here. We could say, let's see, building permit denied. Must do site plan. And then on these, if I don't want to do some of these activities, if some of them don't apply, then like we've got a couple different checklists here. If I wanted to uncheck any of these, it would allow me to remove those steps from the workflow. I'm going to just keep those on. And now I'm able to fill out the rest of this application. So I'm going to use this copy field. It brings down the description of my project. And I'm going to say, we're just going to call this site plan review, so we'll be able to see it in the description. And now for the applicant, Mike Crone was the original applicant on the permit application. And he's who we're going to log into to look at the portal when we're done with this or adding this permit. So it defaults into under review. When we send it in from the portal, the default status is online application review. So you can sort of see how we can trigger these things differently, whether you're in on the staff side or whether you're in on the portal side. So we're able to add the agent or the architect or the engineer. This is just defined for this application. We can have as many contacts added as you need, and they'd all be associated with their title. So we can say site plan review for multifamily housing. And remember that your application can be defined based on your paper application. You don't have to stick with these plans. This is just how it's set up in this environment. So we'll say this would be a permitted use. Is this a planned unit development? We'll say no. Will there be any dwelling units? Yes. If yes, number of square footage, 4 units. And so this is just a text field. If you wanted them to spell out the square footage per unit, we could certainly configure that. And then for site development, we can add some of these. Don't laugh at my math, 800 square feet times 4 is not 6,000, but we can look at that in the review. So we can say that this is 2 floors. We could give the height of the structure, all of these. I'm not going to go through filling out this application completely. Just know that we have about 40 different types of custom fields that we can use to build your applications. So if you want your customers to put in just free form text, they can do that. We can limit it to numbers. We can give drop downs. We have lots and lots of configurability here. So I am going to go ahead and save this application. Oh, I want to show you though, we have got a set of floor plans that have already been uploaded. So if he doesn't have anything on a thumb drive for you, he can say, I already uploaded my documents. You're able to select them from here. So here's our 4-unit apartment PDF. That's going to associate that here. But you also have access to that documents tab, so you'll also see it there. So let's calculate this. We'll see what fees are associated. All right, so you can collect this full amount now. I'm going to leave this on the project. And we won't charge him about a fee right now. So the benefit of Citizenserve is that it's going to collect all of your data for this project. So we've just added our second project. It's this residential site plan review. So the name of the file will indicate to you what it is. This is, what does the U stand for? Let's go look at it. This is a different setup, right, than Buena Vista. So this is a building permit. They call it a BU for some reason. But we get all of our permits here on the Permits tab. And when I click over to the Reviews tab, you can see that we have 2 different review routes. It held it up for you really quick. I'm going to minimize these routes. So you can see we have this building permit route that's associated with this permit, and we have our site plan review, which is related to this permit. And if you wanted to filter, we could just select the site plan, and it'll just show that route. And then as I expand this, it's going to show you all of the review activities on this and their statuses. So none of these have been completed. Now, this review route is different than our building permit was initially, right? That had one activity that got a due date, and when we completed it, it triggered a bunch of other activities. But the site plan review, it goes out to everybody all at once. So we're able to set up your workflow route in whatever way you want it to happen. So I thought with this one that we would go through and we would do just a couple of some of these activities. Now, I am logged in as Carrie, so let's go switch over to Susan. So we're going to update our name tag, right? We're logged in as Susan now. We're still in Clayton, and we're going to refresh her workload. So she has 3 that are due, and when I select those, we can see that she's got these 3 different activities that are all related to that site plan review. So they do something called the contracted review. They do pending applications checklist and a plan review checklist. So let's just go take a look at some of these activities so that you can see how they are defined in the system. In this one, this is the plan review checklist. So as they do these different reviews, they're actually manually checking them off and putting in the date that they're completed. So if these are external reviews and they're sending out notifications, they can do that through the system. They can send an email. They can select the template that they want to put that email into. We can do I don't have any plan review comments in here, just saying. If she wanted to send out to external reviewers, she's able to select a template. This is an example of a letter variable. So if you want to have the person put in data that will be included in that template, this is how they can do it. This is great for code enforcement if they need to add like a hearing date or collect license information. They're using it to update the code edition. I have no idea what their code edition is, so we're just going to put in a generic number, and then we can click the ... to include the recipient. Now, this is going to be for an external review. So all of these are defined as external users. So they use this a lot. You can add another external user here. It'll just give you an input. We're going to use me as an external reviewer. And then we could add attachments from this file. So this Add Attachments button is going to pull up all of the documents that are associated with this. It will let you pick the documents that are on the project, but it will also let you pick documents from your desktop or from your network. So if you have some packet that you normally send to your reviewers, you can select external files and you can upload that packet. Then you could select off the plans that you want these external reviewers to review. And remember that you can look by source. You can say, what are the submittal documents? What are the attached construction documents? That'll give us our, I selected the environmental assessment. Let's do that site plan document, and you can attach it. So you can also put notes in here, please review and return comments by 6/29, and we'll send that off. So this is just an example of how you can communicate with external users through the system. You can track that you've done this work. It's also tracked in your history tab, but this is a very visible, sort of checklist for anybody in the system to be able to open and access, or at least anybody in the department. So they would do this work, they would check it off, they would put the dates in there. When they got all of their reviews updated, they would, in fact, let's go ahead and do a review comments. I'm looking at the time, and I know that we want to get into some other work. I'm just going to refer to this list really quick. All right. I think that we have done a lot of the review activities in the other environment. I'm going to add a couple of comments on here just so that we can see what it's like to add comments in this system, so that you can see them appearing on your project. So we just added some right to this review activity. We're going to complete this one, and we'll give it a status of approved, or we could even say approved with conditions. So we'll save this one off. Now she's got 3 of these other activities that she would do as part of this process. So we could either find them on her home page, or they're listed here. So let's look at the contracted review activity, and we'll see if there's anything. This is not anything more interesting than just a regular review activity. This might be where they're tracking a specific contracted review. If she's sending out to a specific contracted reviewer, she could note here. And then as I complete these activities, we're able to see the statuses of those and the comments that are made in this view. So let's go take a look at this other pending application checklist, and we'll see what other work she has to do. It's another one. So they're using this to really define the work that she needs to get done and the work that she needs to track. So save digital copy of the application plans and tree chart if applicable. Check it off when it's done. Give the date when you did it. Update Dropbox and pending applications webpage. So they're tracking all of this information, and we can set up a checklist for you to track those specific tasks that you do as well. And it can either be on a form like this, or it can be in a whole activity. You could have save digital copy as the activity type itself. And it just depends on how you want to manage your workflow, how many steps you want it to be, how long you want each of those steps and activities to stay open to that user. And this is something that your engagement team will work through with you. You'll upload all of your documents, all of the applications that you want us to define, all of the letters that you want us to define in the system as templates. Any email communications, we can set up a blank email template for you so that you can just have your signature there and you type whatever you want in the email, and then it's all tracked within the system. But all of that will be built for you, and then you get to go through the testing process. And we work in an iterative workflow, an iterative implementation. We don't do waterfall. We don't start with the scope of work and implement that scope of work. We iterate through this on a weekly basis. We build some of the applications and walk you through those applications, and then we turn it over to you so that you can work through those applications and apply some real permits to it. See if the process really works for you. And then as you come through, you think, boy, I thought this sounded like a good idea when we were talking about it in the planning portion, but now that I'm working with it, it just doesn't work for me. You give that feedback to your engagement manager, and they make the tweaks that you need so that the process does work for you. And then you get your hands on again, and you get to the next point where you think, man, I thought this sounded like a good idea, but it's really not working for me. And then you get that moved into the system.
Can I make Nisha?
Yes.
Sorry. We do start with a defined scope of work. Actually, what we don't do is hold you to that scope of work. So you may have worked on projects where you have a very defined set of requirements, and then any little change to that results in back and forth on change orders, we will iterate until you're happy and until you're ready to go live. So your workflow doesn't work, we'll make changes to it. We forgot a report, we forgot an email template, we forgot a letter template, we'll make changes, and then we'll continue to iterate until you're ready to go live. Back to you.
Thank you. All right, so we have gone through and done just a couple of these activities for this one user. I know that you have other types of tracking that you want to do, and we don't have time to go through this entire workflow process and then load the staff final review process, but I wanted to show you how we're able to add conditions of approval. So in their workflow here, they would do this entire workflow route. They would get all of their comments done. They would generate some plan review sheets, right? Some comment sheets. We can generate whatever approval documents you need in the system. Now, if you have an approval that goes out at the plan review, it can be generated in this step. So if we came into this plan review checklist and she wanted to generate either a document or send an email, let's go check and see what she's got under her documents. We can select the recipient. I will choose the applicant. Oh, here is how they generate their agenda. They can just send this off to the applicant. So this is a template that's defined in the system. Let's generate this letter and we'll see if anything good appears. So our activity didn't appear because on this review activity, I didn't generate. So in this workflow, this is the staff review route, and they actually have this other route that we can assign, this site plan review formal review route. So when we look at this, this has the plan review checklist, this has the draft staff report, this has the planning commission meeting. So when they have these sorts of activities on the workflow, and here they want us to add a date for the meeting. So if we say that this meeting is going to be on December 9th and we select save. So this is just a different review route process. Let's do a refresh and we'll get it loaded on this screen for us. Now we can see these 3 routes that are available. 2 routes for this site plan review. So their process is a staff review process and then a formal process. So they would complete this one first and then it would go to all of these review activities. I did want to show you how Citizenserve can generate this agenda mailing list, but I don't have any comments here and we're really getting close to our end of time. So I am going to, I'm going to go to Google and we are going to look for Barefoot Bay. They have this Architectural Review Control Committee. Here we go. So they use Citizenserve to generate their minutes and their agendas, and then they post them online. So here I can go and see the ARCC minutes. And this is a form, right, a PDF file that is generated for this meeting, and it pulls in all of the files that have been identified as going on this meeting. It pulls in data from the database, so it's the permit and the address and the renovation and the contractor and builder. So Citizenserve can be used to create your agenda and your minutes applications, and you can track your minutes. Like when your meeting happens at this planning commissioner meeting. For this project, you get to log the results. And then these comments can get pulled into those meeting minutes. So I'm going to just save this one. We'll say that it's approved and we'll give it a date. And if it matches the date of the meeting, that's even better, right? This happened in the future. So we have the ability to track this information. We have the ability to pull it into meeting minutes, but we also are given a lot of other tools that we can build for you in the system. So this is This is still that updated formal review route that we're in. And I wanted to point out that they have, oh, just kidding. What I want to get to show you is the conditions of approval, which isn't in this workflow, but that's just because they don't use it in this particular workflow. What I have is a mechanical permit that uses this. So I'm going to pull up that plan to show you this functionality. So I'm using the quick search. I'm putting in the name of my my permit number. It's listing it for me, and it's going to open it. So here we have this permit. It's a mechanical permit. I'm going to take you just to show you. This is how they've got their mechanical permit spelled out. They're tracking all of this data, number of units up to tons. But they have a bunch of permits on this project. So we're going to switch over to the reviews tab, and then I'm going to pull up the review route for this mechanical permit. By searching in this permit field, I'll select our mechanical permit. So in this review route, they have this response to plan review mechanical. They are naming each activity. Here's the initial mechanical permit plan review, and then here's the response. They have this conditions of approval activity, and I want to open it for you so you can see what it looks like when they get these. Now, I don't have access to this project, so I can't make changes here. But they say, yes, there are conditions of approval. They have all the conditions listed here, and they check off the conditions that they want to use. Now, this could also be done in Common Comments if you had conditions of approval that you wanted to select from. So you would just check off those comments that apply. And then when you're ready to generate your document, I'm going to take you over to the Documents tab, and we're going to pull up that permit for that mechanical. And here is that mechanical permit card. So here is that permit, and then here are the conditions of approval that print on it. So during your implementation, you're going to have all of these needs defined, and your engagement manager will talk you through how to implement those in the system. So this is just a little bit about how the conditions of approval can be assigned. Now, to show you sort of how this permit can get issued, we want to go back to our initial project, right? This is our Rochester Family Building Permit. And I know that we have done a bunch of different little activities in a bunch of different places, but I want to show you how we would go ahead and issue this permit. So let's go in here to our site plan review, and let's take a payment, right? Well, actually, if we don't take a payment, let's show what it would look like if we try to issue this. Now, I've talked about alerts, and I've talked about conditions on a project, that hand that shows up. We also have the ability to put in SQL checks in the system. We can do it in about 18 different places when you submit an application or when you try to take a payment on an application. If I change this to issued and I try to generate a permit card, this would be a good place to have a check go through. Let's do how about a planning and zoning card? So these are just the permit cards that have been defined in this system. I'm gonna guess on this, and we're gonna select the admin permit, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so this actually is showing me that this permit is approved by planning and zoning, but it still shows that there's a fee due. What we could do is write a SQL check to say, is there a balance due on this permit? I don't want you to issue it. And it would pop up a warning to say, there is a balance due, you can't permit this issue, you can't issue this permit while there's a balance due. So we can program those into the system, and the next time one pops up, I'll show it. So we didn't add conditions of approval to this particular task, but there's a spot for it in this application. I'm going to go ahead and save this administrative permit. Now, we can define whatever application or whatever permit card or approval document you want to have in the system, and that would be listed here. we have 5 minutes, I think, until we're due to close this session. Are there any questions about what you've seen, what I've shown you, or any questions about how we would apply Citizenserve to your specific scenarios that we should talk about in the next 5 minutes? And maybe, since we haven't done it yet, let's go out to Mike Crone. This is a different portal, right? This is the Clayton portal. So I'll log in as Mike. And we'll take a look at that project. And feel free if you have questions. This is a great time. There we go. So we're going to go view this request. Here we see under review this denied request. But then if we look at if we switch and view his development projects, this site plan review has been defined as a development project, so it's in the other bucket. So here we can look at that same Google image, our same header. We get to see this permit application. And then on the reviews tab, we get an update of all of the reviews that we completed. And remember, this is our second workflow route, so we didn't do much in here. We just did this plan review, and we added some comments here so that you could see them. Those were added. But the applicant gets to see throughout the process the statuses of the reviews, the completion, any notes to them. They can look at the documents tab and see the documents that have been generated by the system. So they're able to access the permit that was generated. We'll just open that really quick so you can see. And this is supposed to be a logo for Clayton, but it's in my test environment, so they don't generally copy those over so you don't mistake yourself. And then so we have the emails and then that submittal document that was all applied. And remember, this was an application that we created on the staff side. All right, so Citizenserve, in a nutshell, the application can be submitted on the portal side by the citizen, or it can be generated on the staff side. It'll go through whatever workflow you needed to go through, including none if there is no workflow for that particular permit. You can take payments through the portal. You can log payments online or through the staff side. You can communicate with your constituents through the portal so that they can get your email communications. They can leave you messages that'll go through the portal to your task list. You can track all of this information in one spot. And then you can issue the permit. And we can go through the inspection process as well, but that'll be in another module.